Technically have a quorum. Okay, great. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is the meeting of the steering committee of the Vermont Climate Council. And Jared's just joining us now. Hey, Jared, welcome. Um, uh, Good to see you. All right, so I've got an agenda here. Let me share my screen with it. Give me 1 millisecond to get organized. Um, and Liz, if you want to throw that agenda in the chat, even better. Um, Here we are. It's February. I can't believe it's February. Um, and the things that we have on our agenda for a steering committee, one is there's been a request for guidance for subcommittee work this year. We've talked about it previously, and now Liz put together a doc on the basis of that conversation, and we wanted to confirm that that doc has the right guidance in there. And then the other thing is there's been some member changes, and some things you need to confirm and some things you need to talk about. And so we'll get to those. And that's all that we have in addition to the minutes. So let me just check before we dive into that. Steering committee members, is there anything else that you want to flag for today, before we jump in? Anything else? Okay, great. So why don't we dive in? The first thing is our usual housekeeping of minutes. You can see they're linked here in the agenda. I'll give everybody just a second, if you need it to refresh your memory or to do a quick scan. Just give you a sec. Any friendly amendments or concerns about the minutes? Any requests for some more time to look at those minutes? Okay. Without hearing requests for more time or concerns, let's treat those as approved. So thanks, everybody. All right, so Liz, I wonder if you want to walk us through your doc here. I can pull it up.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
good.
so just let me know. Hang on a second. Um, Let me just turn it over to you to say how you prepared this doc and what it's trying to say.
Thanks. Yeah, so following the last steering committee meeting, I consolidated from that discussion responsibilities and guidance moving forward for the various subcommittees. At a high level, it would have just transitions and science and data recommended to meet quarterly as needed, because they have more specific items that they could either monitor or like for science and data, for instance, working on future modeling needs. Um, and it has all the other subcommittees recommendation to meet join the climate council meetings to stay informed if they'd like to. And then for just communications going forward, it would have co-chairs reach out to subcommittee members with any specific updates for them or as it pertains to the climate council. And it would also allow subcommittee members who are joining climate council meetings to stay informed and up to date on the council's work to be eligible for per diems to attend those climate council meetings. So that's an overview of the document.
Thanks, Liz. Really
Yeah.
helpful. And when I read it, it felt very aligned with what I had heard you all say as steering committee previously. Jane?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on the per diems. I think that that is something that is my bad that I meant to check in first with our council and secretary on. So I want to just say that we would recommend that, but that I need to confer with the council on the eligibility and our capacity to pay that. So in the past, I'll just note we have when we've asked co-chairs or subcommittee members to come to a council meeting to present, even though they don't sit on that, we have offered full per diem, but just want to confirm that that will be all right going forward.
And just for everybody's sake, when you say council, you mean lawyer. You don't mean the Vermont Climate
Yes.
Council.
Yeah, I mean council, just on,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jane. Right. So, all right. So, steering committee members, how is this hitting the mark or not? Do you have suggestions to make it better? Is there anything that's not clear? Um, Thoughts on this? We do want to have your formal okay on it. So we're happy to adjust it in real time or take notes in real time. Any concerns, Jared?
This generally looks good and reflects the conversation that we had. So I think it's a good starting point. Thanks for putting it together.
Great. Yep. Okay. Anything else? Mm, Okay. Great. So there's just that one caveat here. Uh, this is technically correct. You can submit per diem. I think Jane needs to confirm whether it will get paid, I think is what you're saying, Jane. Uh,
No, no, what I'm saying is, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, is just that there has been an interest, especially around when we ask subcommittee members to come to a meeting that they don't sit on, that they get the full per diem, the
yeah.
$50 per meeting
Mhm.
rather than the hourly rate. So they can definitely get the hourly rate because they're doing
I get it.
business of the council. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay. Great.
thank
Thank you
you.
for that clarification. Okay. Any other discussion about this before we adopt it or you adopt it as your guidance, subcommittees? Okay. Hearing no concerns about it, can I treat this as formally adopted? Everything? Can I get a little like nodding of heads or something like, yeah, you're with me on this? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so let's treat this as adopted. And Kelly, let me just make sure you're good too, because you're kind of
Yeah, no, this looks great. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble figuring out how to do any responses besides mute and unmute. So I
okay.
can't figure out how to
Good.
raise my hand right now easily.
You're all good. You're all good. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you. All right. Wonderful. So Liz, nice job. Thank you for pulling that together and let's treat this doc as the doc. And I think Liz, the next step is to send this out to subcommittees and co-chairs, right? That's your next step here?
Yeah, just a question on the checking on the per diem with Jane. Is that something we asked the council or the agency about the $50?
The lawyer and the
Yep,
agency.
I'm going to
The
ask
lawyer?
Catherine.
Oh,
Yep,
okay, okay.
thank you.
So I'll make a note on that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then yeah, that sounds good.
I mean,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
just to pause if it's okay with a
Yeah.
question on process here. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that this has primarily been discussed by the steering committee, and I imagine that there are chairs or co-chairs of subcommittees that haven't been part of the conversation about the guidance for their subcommittees. I mean, we have decent representation on the steering committee. So I wonder, it feels to me like it might be more appropriate to send it out as, the working draft that the steering committee is recommending, but give folks a chance to review it at the council meeting and have the opportunity to provide feedback on it um, before it's kind of I mean, we're kind of in an advise and support role, so I wouldn't want people to see this as a kind of a decision of the steering committee directing the subcommittees if there are key subcommittee members and chairs and co-chairs who haven't had a chance to see or provide feedback on this yet. So I think it's a great start, but I just in terms of how it's shared and communicated, I think it would be good to say that, this was a draft developed by Liz reflecting the conversation of the steering committee, supported by the steering committee, but before it's kind of formally adopted as the uh, the subcommittee document going forward, I would just want members of the council to have a chance to provide feedback.
Thanks, Jared. So what if we continue to call it draft, right? And we send it out and say, here's the draft guidance that the steering committee has given a provisional okay to. The council will look at this in its March meeting, provide any adjustments as needed, right? In the meantime, this is the best guidance we have.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, sounds great. Like that. All right. Um, so that was that. Um, and then the next item on the agenda is these changes. Um, there are two subcommittee appointments, and Liz, you're gonna have to help me on this. Um, and subcommittee appointments are something that you as a steering committee look at. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is because Liz Miller is stepping off the council or has stepped off the council, there's going to be an opening in the steering committee, you all. And so I want to have a conversation with you all about how to approach that opening. But let's do first things first. Liz, can you say a word about these subcommittee changes?
Yeah, an update on the subcommittee appointments. We're gonna move the youth rep appointment to the next steering committee meeting because we're waiting on confirmation from the youth rep. But the other appointment is to just transitions for Shayla Livingston.
Right. And for not if not everybody knows, Shayla's role is or job
She,
is.
she's a council member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So again, this is kind of a formality, but it is something that in our process document, we talk about how you as a steering committee sort of give a sort of that bigger overview of steering of the subcommittees and approval on that. Um, and Kelly, just maybe if there's anything else you want to say about um, Shayla coming into Just Transitions, is there anything else to say about that?
Well, as I'm the only council member on Just Transition Subcommittee, I'm just happy to have anybody else from the council, but I think Shayla will be great. I think she'll be a good fit and provide a lot of good insight for us.
Great. Super. So any concerns, steering committee, about that? Any things to say about that? Okay. I'm not seeing any concerns, so that is great. And so you said, Liz, we're not going to do the youth member today. We'll do that next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. So then let's have a conversation about the steering committee composition and with Liz stepping down. Remind me how we've done this before. I feel like, yeah, Jared, do you want to say something?
Oh, my recollection, I know we formalized this in some of our guidance documents, but is that we have had
Yeah.
on the steering committee two members of the administration, two counselors who are Senate appointees, and two counselors who are appointed by the Speaker of the House. And since Liz was appointed by the Speaker, I think my initial inclination would be to have an email go out to those, what is it,
Yeah.
seven or eight House appointed members to see who may have interest, so that we see if there are one or more people willing to serve with a brief description of the role and responsibilities. Um, and then, uh, once we hear back about interest and availability, discuss uh, candidates. If there's only one person, consider that at a future meeting. If there are two, then there might need to be a conversation or a deliberation or a vote. But I think that that's the first step, is contacting the House appointed members and gauging interest, and then moving from there.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds great. Any concerns about that? I was just opening up our process doc to, I should have done this before the meeting. I apologize, but um, it does say that members who are appointed by the legislature will choose these four individuals. So it at the end, it sounds like, Jared, that like if it comes down to it, it's like all the legislatively appointed folks would choose that.
Yep.
But I think it's a great starting place to say if you were appointed by the House, then what do you
And
propose?
and maybe I don't know. I'm looking at Joey as the other House appointed member of the, or is the now the
Mhm.
only House appointed member of the steering committee. I wonder if that makes sense to come from you, Joey, if you're comfortable with that. I mean, I guess it probably doesn't make sense to entertain hypotheticals, but you know, given that the guidance documents that we've put together do talk about the kind of four seats and legislative appointees, if there was a scenario in which there wasn't an appointee from the House willing or able to serve on the steering committee. I think the next step would be to look at the Senate appointees, but I think we should start, and just because that's been the process to date, is seeing if we can identify a House appointee to serve in that
Yeah.
second seat there.
And that, just to be clear, Jared, it does say there will be two members who are appointed by the House of Representatives and two who are appointed from the Senate. It's just a question of choosing them as
Yeah,
everybody does it.
yeah.
Joey, are you okay taking the next step on that and shooting an email out to all the other House appointed members and saying, hey, we're looking for a volunteer here?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I also am just curious. I don't know if I missed it, but I hadn't heard the news of Liz stepping down. So I don't know if, as part of just an update to the council, that seat is now or will be, but it sounds like already vacant. Um, I just wonder about like an update to the council, and that could come from you, David, with the steering committee,
Yeah, or Liz? Yeah.
or I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that for sure. I could
So
see it going
maybe
hand in hand with the update.
Yeah,
what I'm hearing from you, Joey.
that should come from Liz. Sorry that it hasn't. We just
Yeah,
missed it.
yeah, from Liz Hamler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Secretary Moore, do you have a comment on
Yeah,
this?
just if we're sharing those sorts of updates, also, I know Jane and I received, and I believe Sarah too, received word that Andrea Wright is going to take the V-Trans seat on the council going forward, as Michelle Boomhauer is planning to retire this spring or summer. So we probably want to make that announcement at the same time too.
Great. And just for everybody's knowledge, Liz Miller has stepped down or is stepping down?
She has stepped down, and just along those lines, she has also reached out to the speaker, who is vetting new appointees with utilities. And so, just flagging that it might. I raised my hand previously to say the same thing Jared was going to say, which is, in the past, the member from the House or the member from the Senate who's still on the steering committee has helped support recruitment for the other seat. And so,
Mhm.
thank you to Joey for doing that. And then just might encourage that checking in with the speaker to see where that appointment is, so that if we're sending out a notice that there's a seat on the steering committee, that new person would be welcome to be eligible or considered as well.
Okay. So, would it be a sort of logical order that Liz Amler could send out a note with these changes of, Liz Miller stepped down, Andrea Wright's going to step into Michelle's role, and we're awaiting notice from this the legislature about who the new person is. So that note goes out, and then Joey, you could follow on that to say, oh, by the way, fellow appointees, we'll need another member of the steering committee. An order of operations like that. That makes sense?
Will do.
Okay. Great. That sounds very reasonable. And depending on when that new person is appointed, I guess there's a question mark there for you all, which is sometimes there's been some delays in the past about appointments. Would you all want to get a new steering committee member in place just prior to our next meeting? Or would you be more interested in waiting for that new appointment and seeing if that person would be part of a pool of potential candidates for steering committee member? What is your preference there?
I'll jump in real quick. I think
Yeah.
what Jane suggested, that Joey just reach out to the speaker, because if she gets back and says, "Oh yeah, like we're really close," maybe we hold off to ask for volunteers until the new person is appointed. Um, I think in the past the delay was partly because they weren't in session when we had vacancies, but they are in session right now, so that may speed things up. Uh, but yeah, getting a timeline, and if it's like, oh, any day now, then we can wait a little bit. But if it's maybe going to take a while, or they're having trouble finding somebody willing to be on the council, then I don't think having a vacancy on the steering committee helps us. I think we should see if other people are interested, if it's going to be more than, a month or so before we get a new person in that seat.
Okay. That seem reasonable to folks? All right. Again, you all can function as a group of five, right? You are functional. And so maybe you give it a month and see what happens and then make a decision if you want to fill the vacancy regardless. Jared,
Oh, it
did you
was
want to say
just
something? You're
nodding
good?
in agreement.
Okay, great. Okay. Um, Super. Is that clear for everybody? Regardless, Liz Ambler can send an email around to everybody about the changes in the council composition. Um, and then Joey, if you want to work internally to start to talk to the speaker, maybe informally ping your fellow appointees and say, we're going to wait a little bit, see who the person is, but in the meantime, interested if anybody wants to raise their hand, you know? Okay. I think that's it for our work. We were going to do some public comment, but before I do public comment, anything else that I'm missing here on the appointments and things like that? Okay, great. So if you've been listening into our call and there's a comment you'd like to make, now is the time to do public comment. Um, Matthew, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, council members. Yes, and thank you for, that technical but brief, layout for the coming year's plans of the Vermont Climate Council. Yes, and I agree with what Jared said about the whole compensation. And I look forward to, seeing that, rolled out when and if Jane and her staff can get that financial capability going. I look forward to, see that equity part of it, make sure that, council client members get paid for that, but also making sure that, everybody, feel appreciated for what they're doing moving forward. So it's not like it's the one person doing it themselves, but it's everybody together in unison, so, making this work happen. So I look forward, seeing this roll out. I'm excited that we got new members coming on board. But I'm also want to make sure that our, we're still moving forward the goals and plans of our Vermont Climate, Council in the near future. But yeah, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for that comment. Anyone else have a comment for this morning? Jared? Yeah.
If there's no other public comment, there was one other thing that I would just mention to this group. Some folks on this call are already aware, but just to share with everybody, one of the key recommendations in the climate action plan was the creation of greenhouse gas reporting requirement or registry, and there is a bill in the House H740, which will have testimony this week from many of the people who are on this call, Jane and Julie and Joey and myself and Matt. Um, so if folks are interested, I just posted the link to the committee agenda for the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. But that one of those key recommendations is being considered by that House committee, and we'll have testimony from a number of councilors and administration officials this week.
Thanks, Jared. Exciting times. Okay, making progress, hopefully. All right, anything else? Andrea, it'll be nice to have you as a full council member. It kind of feels like you have been, but it'll be nice to have you officially appointed. So thanks, Andrea, for stepping in. It'd be a pleasure. All right, folks. Well, let's take 4 minutes back in our mornings. Be well, everybody. Happy Monday. Have a good week. And until next time.
Thanks all.
Take care. Thank you.